Hello, friends. Dr. Motley here on the Ancient Health Podcast, and we're talking to the founder and the leader of the Health Institute of the Ancient Health Podcast, Dr. Josh Axe. He is basically one of my best friends, but more importantly, he has founded draxe.com. He's the co-founder of Ancient Nutrition. He literally has gotten his master's in leadership from Johns Hopkins. He's one of the smartest guys I know, and I'm so glad that we're able to do the Ancient Health Podcast today, because I know many of you out there have heard some things about Josh's journey, but today that's what we're going to talk about. Thank you, brother, for being on here.
Well, Chris, thanks for having me. Super excited to talk all things health and healing today. And we were just talking before we get on. I can't wait to, for everyone who doesn't know, Chris is one of my closest friends, Dr. Motley here, and we do dinners together at least once a month. Go out and talk everything health, life. And so we've got I've been living in Puerto Rico, moving back to Nashville, and so I have a whole list of restaurants, Chris, including a pretty awesome Korean restaurant. I'm excited for us to go to when I get back.
Oh, it's going to be good. I remember Doc sent me, he sent me and our friend Isaac. We always have this group of guys, and it was this one restaurant, and I had to give it to Josh. He can find the best restaurants, guys. I mean, literally, like if we go to a restaurant, I just rather have Josh just order that because he knows good quality of food. So there's no question whenever we go to find that place is the best restaurant. So I'm looking forward to it too, brother. I can't wait to get back.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Man. It's going to be good. So I wanted to talk today, and we were having conversations about what this conversation is going to be about. But I know that you've had such a good presence on social media, but for a while there, brother, you were having times where you had to step back and step away, and you were talking about your story.
Yeah.
You just came out with a brand new book, and the book is amazing, everyone. It's called Think This, Not That. And it talks about mindset. And I'll just tell you a quick thought about this after I want Josh to go into this, but you had a spinal infection, and you were showing your story about how you had to use your mindset to go through that. But could you talk to us and tell us about what happened with your infection? What brought it about? Tell us the story.
Yeah. So, and of course, you know this really well, Chris, because you were, a person who worked on me some and helped me in the healing process. But this was almost a couple years ago now. I went in for a really simple kind of health procedure. I had injured my back weightlifting. I bulged and herniated a couple discs in my low back. And I did a lot of things to try and get well, everything from physical therapy, chiropractic, functional movement exercises. I mean, you sort of name it, traveled around the country to see people. And I saw improvements, but I only got back to probably like 60, 70%. And I just had a lot of back pain still. Mm-hmm. So then I went and got stem cell, and it made a tremendous difference. I probably got back to 95% or more. So I was deadlifting, squatting, swimming, running. I was able to throw my 2-year-old daughter up in the pool. I mean, I had almost perfect health. And I thought, well, if I get this done one more time, it'll probably get me back to 100%. So I went in, I had this injection using my own stem cells, completely natural procedure, but something went wrong to where just the days after I kept feeling worse and worse and worse. So finally I had to wear a back brace, and I thought, gosh, something's not right here. And then one day I woke up and I couldn't walk. The pain was so severe. I mean, just absolutely excruciating pain. It was terrible. And after being like that for a day or two, I thought I have to call an ambulance. We called an ambulance because I literally couldn't hardly move. They picked me up and brought me to get an MRI, and the report came back that I had an infection in my spine. And not only was it in my disc, but it migrated up into my bone, my vertebra. And then that was a condition called osteomyelitis. And then there was an abscess growing of the infection by my spinal cord. And so I had to take a medical flight from Puerto Rico to Florida. And I met with an infectious disease doctor, and he told me, he said, Josh, listen, this is a really severe infection. He said, your best case scenario is you're going to have chronic pain the rest of your life, and you're going to be the first person to know when bad weather comes through. And he said, worst case is this could kill you. He said, this is really spread throughout the bone. It's by your spinal cord, and there's a good likelihood you're going to be permanently disabled. And for me, Chris, you and I, a couple years, I'm thinking about just 2 years ago, you and I were playing basketball at my house in Nashville, pickup games. We were, I was, out cycling, doing the hardest of workouts and really almost no issues. And to then be told a few months later, essentially, that I may be permanently disabled from this, have to get rods in my spine or some sort of surgery. I was just floored. And there were emotions I'd never experienced before, like despair and hopelessness. Like I am a very positive person. I have a very, what I feel like is strong mindset, but there were a couple of days with just the depression was so hard and heavy because I thought, wow, how could I go from having this level of health to being in this bad of shape? And I decided after about 48 hours, though, I realized I was just praying and I thought, you know what? I can't focus on the worst case scenario. I need to focus on the best case scenario. I need to also believe that my God is capable of getting me better than what this doctor said I can be. And my God is bigger than this condition. And so I just sort of decided to just have a complete change of heart and mindset of believing that God was going to heal me and that I would be able to get back to 100%. And the doctor also recommended that I get on antibiotics for, well, a lot of times the treatment is 3 months. And it's 6 weeks of IV, 6 weeks of oral antibiotics. And I read in a medical journal, and I decided I'm going to do my own research to do everything I can to help my body heal as well. Because 3 months on antibiotics. Now, Chris, I had not taken a drug. The last time I'd taken a medication was when I was 19 years old and I had my wisdom teeth removed, and I was 40. So, I mean, I hadn't taken a medication for over 20 years.
Yeah.
And so that was something else I was really conscious of. Well, I don't only want to I don't want to heal my back, but then also just absolutely destroy my gut. So is there something I can do to help my body heal from this infection? And I'd already been trying a lot of things. Well, I came across a study on hyperbaric chambers and how if you got in every day for 30 days, you could cut down your antibiotic time by like almost 70%. And so I saw a study where people were able to take the antibiotics for just like 4 weeks or 1 month. And so I did that. So I got on the antibiotic, the IV, but I also got in a hyperbaric chamber for 2 hours a day. And at the same time, I pretty much ate meat and vegetables only. I was getting acupuncture work done on me, taking herbs that you'd recommended. And I also knew myself to take, and I was doing very high dose probiotics. I did the IV in the morning and I would do this in the evening. I'd also did some nutrient IV. So I did a lot of stuff. Yeah. And after 2 weeks, I started feeling a little better and then kept getting better and better and better. Now, this is a crazy part. It was a full year before I could walk on my own after that. Pretty much, or close to that, or since I got this injection, started getting worse. So I couldn't walk for 10 months, and then I was on a walker for 2 months. And part of the reason is the blood flow to your disc and your spine is very, very small. There's hardly any blood flow there. So that's why it took so long to heal. But through this whole process, I want to say now that I'm about a year out from that, from when I just started walking again. Actually, this week, last year about is when I started walking again, or pretty close, actually a week or so before. But I'm now better than the doctor said I would be. I'd say back to about 80-85%. I'm weightlifting again. I'm out walking. I can swim. I'm carrying my 2-year-old. And so I am so much better. And I believe by the end of this year, I could be close to 100%. And so that's sort of what happened. That's also why people probably didn't see me putting out a lot of content for about a year and a half, because I was physically unable to up until about this last fall. So anyways, that's sort of the story of that spinal infection.
I would say if everyone, like Josh is one of my closest friends. And I say this, like, you have people in your life, they're like your brother, and you just have, we have a group of guys that really care about each other. And then I remember that when Josh went through this, I hadn't really heard a lot from Josh since he had moved. And then they said, well, Josh is not doing too great. And when I went to go down to see Josh, I was totally surprised because, right, brother, it's like he was always working out. He has the guns and he would work out. We were playing basketball and it would just be like, and Josh was just, he couldn't move his legs well. He was laying in bed, and it hurts your heart as a friend. You see this happening, but I know that the despair you were telling me about, how your mindset had shifted at times. But one of the things I want everybody to know is that the one thing I remember about Josh is that he was always doing something to build his mindset. And he literally was in his times where he was laying down and have his computer propped up. And he was literally on his computer writing a book and writing things and always reading something. And I remember this, brother, one time we would get up and I thought, well, I'm going to do my best to help out Josh. I thought, well, I'll get up and I'll go see how Josh is doing. By the time I get up, I hear Josh in the room going, Hey, Motley, what are you doing up? Like he'd already been up. He'd already been up writing. He'd already been up doing stuff. And I was like, here I am, going down to checking on my friend, and he's up doing stuff and consistently doing something to better himself. And when you were writing through, and I remember you were writing the book and you were talking to your book people, and I was so impressed by that. And literally every day, Josh would be going out to the pool and getting in the pool and strengthening up. But the one thing I do miss was Josh had the beard. He had a beard he didn't cut, and it was the best beard I've ever seen. That's one thing I miss about it, brother. But all that, I want us to talk about that.
Yeah, well, now I want to mention this too. It's so kind of Chris, because Chris offered to come down and work on me when I was doing my rehab and back here. So Chris flew down, did kinesiology on me and some acupuncture points and treatment. And so that was so kind of, and when you go through something like that, like I went through, I mean, you really start to recognize who your closest friends are and real friends are. I mean, you were constantly checking in. You came down, again to treat me, and really, really grateful for that. And thanks so much. I think that, we were talking about this before we came on, and this is an important part of healing, is that your community. And there's a study from Harvard that came out. It's about a 90-year study, and they found that the greatest predictor of lifespan is your inner circle in your community. Wow. And I know I've been super intentional about who I spend my time with. I mean, my single biggest life lesson is you become who you surround yourself with, and your success ultimately arises and falls based on who your friend group is and mentor group. And so I spend a lot of time with, again, pursuing very specific people because of their character and really creating this iron sharpens iron environment. But if you're a person right now and you're saying, I want to be my best, whether it be in my relationships, my spiritual life, my health, the greatest thing you can do is spend time around other disciplined people, people that have virtue, people that are healthy, because they will pull you into, you become like them. Yes. And so I spent a lot of time around, Dr. Chris here. I spent a lot of time around guys like Dr. Dan Sullivan, another great doc, and, Andrew East, Isaac Meek, it's Andrew East, just some great people. And so anyways, it's, focus on, I encourage everybody to do this. Write down who are the 5 people you're spending the most time with. And then rank them on a scale of 1 to 10 on how well they are in terms of iron sharpens iron. Basically, rank them in their character and how they are as a friend, right? And if they make you grow, and then you should be the same to them. You should be helping them and thinking about constantly, how can I bless them? How can I help them grow? How can I help their dreams come true? And there's a saying, Aristotle always said that there's really 3 types of friends: friends you have fun with, friends that it's called utility. It's essentially like, hey, you happen to be on the same soccer team, your kids are, and so you're going to, swap car rides. So you're going to be helpful towards each other. Yeah. And then there's a community, you have friends of purpose. And these are friends where you really want to go out. And for myself and you, I know we share this, Dr. Chris, is we want to help advance the kingdom of God. We want to help people heal naturally. We want to help create great families. We want to grow in our character. Become more like the Mother Teresas of the world and serving other people. And so you're one of those friends I share all those things with, which is such a blessing. But really, if you're listening to this, if you have people and you're ranking them on a scale of 1 to 10 in your top 5 people that you spend the most time with, and you've got a few people 5 and below, well, go find a few people that are 7 to 10s, right? Those people that really help you grow, and sort of swap the time of who you're spending time with. It'll help you heal.
That's the great advice, because, when you say iron sharpens iron, one thing that I appreciate about the group of guys is I was always not necessarily opposed to having like a group of guys. I've always been kind of like a loner. I've always been kind of introverted in some way. Most people wouldn't think that, but I am. But Josh encouraged me to write down goals, and we'd meet every month and write down certain goals, certain things. Remember that, brother? And Dr. Josh would be like, I want you to do this. He always say like, Motley, you got to do this. Just try this. And I was so thankful for that. You know why? Because all of those things I wrote down, and we wrote down as a group, most of all of us accomplished. Because I saw that you were pushing me and I was pushing you. Everybody was pushing each other in a good, positive way. And that's why it motivated me just to keep strong and like learning more and growing more. Because you said you had this group of people. When you started to realize that you had a group of people around you, brother, and you was writing this book, was that a big motivation, like to help other people by writing this book? And it's like, I need to tell people how to keep that circle around them.
Well, I think my worldview, as yours is very biblical in nature. And when I get to the end of my life, I want to be able to know and say that I ran a good race, and I get up to heaven and God says, "Well done, good and faithful servant." And I want to run to win the race. And I know one of the things that Jesus commissions the disciples with when he leaves is he says, go and make disciples of all nations, right? And so for myself, I'm really conscious of, I think one of the greatest things we can do is tied into mentoring others. Now this happens as, if somebody's a parent listening to this, mentoring and parenting your kids, that's one of the greatest things you could ever do. I mean, it's what Jesus spent the most amount of time doing that changed the world. And so that, of course, is incredibly powerful. But I also like to do the very same thing with my friends in terms of saying, okay, I see something in a friend and they've got a gift or a skill that the world needs. So how can I help that person in getting out there? So for you, for instance, one of the things I noticed with Dr. Chris is I went in to see Dr. Chris on occasion when he had his kinesiology practice. He had a brick and mortar practice where he worked on people in person. But I encouraged him also to start seeing people online because there are people all over the world that could benefit from your care. And so I just encouraged Chris to also start a virtual clinic where he would see people online, and he did that. So that's just one example. So I thought the world needs to hear more from Dr. Chris. And I know I encourage you to do the podcast with me, as we've done with the Ancient Podcast here together. So just a couple things. But I think for me, my heart is very much looking at, okay, how can I be like Jesus? How can I help disciple, mentor, or just be a good friend to somebody? Iron sharpens iron, where they have this gift or skill in the world, and the world needs more of what they have, and helping them with that. So, but I am trying to always constantly think about that with the people around me, is really looking for what are their gifts, what are and how do I help them better leverage that gift to turn earth into a heavenly place?
Oh, that's beautiful, because I think that the encouragement of how people can grow, not only with people around them, but also your information you put out about, like you said, family, and the importance of like growing a family spiritually. And I think the importance of that, not only having your friendships, but you show so much, because Josh is a great father, and Josh is always there with Arwen and just always going and swimming and doing stuff. And I'm really encouraged by that. And when you have, there are good studies out there. I know there probably are, brother, but what are some of the big studies you've seen about the importance of, family life, as in being close to family and trying to strengthen that? What are there studies that you like to talk about in the family life?
Well, yeah, I think in particular, looking at so I always like to look at things with the end in mind. Okay. And this is something that both, I think, people of faith have done, but also the smartest people have ever lived, like the Greek philosophers, Aristotle, Plato, and Socrates. I mean, they would talk about what's your aim, and for me, I always want to aim up. I want to aim. And so like ultimately when God put Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, they were in paradise. And one of the things they were commissioned with was turning the entire earth into a paradise. So the whole thing into a Garden of Eden. And so I really try and think about, okay, what can I do with my life that can cause this earth to literally become a Garden of Eden, in terms of this regenerative food forest? And how can I also love people? How can I love the planet? How can I love people? How can I love God? Okay. How can I do those things? And so I think that's definitely one of the things that I personally think about. And so, the way that I think about this with family is, a very similar thing is, okay, how do we make that happen where people are loved, people and the planet is loved, and God is loved? And one of the things that God put in place here divinely was the family unit. In fact, it's interesting when you look at the first letter of the Bible, Bet, it actually means family. And what comes before Bet, the first thing, even before that letter, it's God, and that's Aleph. And so if you know the Hebrew alphabet, but basically God created us because he wanted a family, and the family unit of a husband and wife and kids. And so we are, even having families. I mean, it's something that God's divinely ordained. And so knowing that, now what happens though, for instance, if you have a mom or dad leave, well, we know that statistically, if you asked about studies, well, fatherless homes, if you don't have a father in a home, the rates of those kids being imprisoned, early teen pregnancy, dying early, having chronic disease, mental health issues, every single negative thing you can imagine goes up dramatically. So that's the first thing I would say is that the world thrives with families. When you break down the family unit and it goes away, well, now families stop thriving. When families stop thriving, communities stop thriving. When communities stop thriving, nations stop thriving, and they fall apart. And that even happened with ancient Rome. The United States is following some of the same suit in terms of some of the morals they're leaving behind. But all that being said, I think that when I think about the family unit and family, it's so important. I think I think being a parent is the most important job we have if you are a parent, or if not, it's being a mentor, mentoring others. In that same way as Jesus did. Now, Jesus wasn't per se, didn't have, biological kids, but he did mentor people. And so whether you're a parent or not, mentoring and discipling other people and building that sort of family environment, whether that's biological or not, you want to create a family unit. I mean, that's an important thing I think that we want to try and do. And so I again, thinking with the end in mind, that's a big part, is creating a family. So when I think about myself as a dad, like, I want to do everything I can to raise up virtuous kids that want to change the world and that always aim upward towards the good, because, there's a lot of parents out there, or a lot of mentors or teachers that maybe want to teach people how to do great things. But before you do great things, you want to make sure that you teach them to do good things.
Oh man, that's good.
Because you can do, again, you could teach your kid how to be a great musician, but if the music they're creating is a force for evil in the world, they're talking about drugs and sex and violence. Well, you're now destroying the world. You're moving us away from the perfect paradise. Versus if you are teaching your kids the good and then how to be great. Well, then now they can do music that's about healing and hope and something positive. And so I think that's really sort of the mindset with kids in my family, is how can I first be good, teach my kids to be good, and then secondarily teach them how to be great.
I love that, how you described it in the Hebrew Bible, about how you said it was, family. And then you say at the very beginning was God. So I love the content that you're putting out and the information, because you're saying that, like, there's certain parts of our lives, our bodies are, that we need to address. Yes, we need to do things physically and eat the right foods and take the right herbs. But you just said, like, how to create a good friendships, how to create good family. And what, there may be people out here listening, brother, that would think, I don't even know if I really want to believe in God or have any type of faith. What are some of the things that you've seen in your studies about how important it is to have a relationship with, God, with the divine source? Like, what are things that people may need to know that's an important part of their health?
Well, let me say this first, is I always start with the end in mind. Well, what's the ultimate end? Well, in a way, it's eternity. And now that's infinite, so there is no end. But my point is what's the longest distance you can project into the future? There's a quote by C.S. Lewis I love, and he essentially says this: the people that do the most in this life are the people who think most about the next life.
Oh, wow.
And so if you want to be successful, the most important thing, you need to be a long-term thinker. Every study on success has shown this. The people that are the most successful people, who have the biggest impact, they think most about the future. If you're only thinking about the here and now and like, hey, how do I just make myself happy right now, drink a lot of alcohol, eat a bunch of sugar, whatever it is, you're not going to be happy or successful long term. And so that's really where it starts, is thinking more, not only to be healthy at the end of your life, but also the life beyond this. And so that's something I'm really conscious of in terms of health. Again, this is important with people that are healthy because, again, this is the way you eat. It really lines up the same way. If I wanted to eat the best tasting thing I could, I would probably run out and get a cheesecake and I don't know, something, maybe a something fried, right? It's just, that would taste the best. But that's not gonna put me in a position where 5, 10, 25 years from now, where
I am the best I can be.
Yeah.
Versus I can still eat things that are sweet and good, but have something taste incredible, but maybe it's not, my point there is that, you need to think long-term. If you've got a health issue, you need to be thinking long-term and creating habits right now that will bless you 10, 25 years from now and really benefit you. And I think that's part of the mindset.
I do love it that, with the end goal in sight. And I think that one thing that I've always appreciated is how you and Dr. Dan Sullivan, so Dr. Axe and Dr. Sullivan are like some of my closest friends. And you ought to hear the conversations these two guys have. It's so in depth that I'm serious that I literally listen to them and they teach me so many things about how to be like a good person in all these aspects. One of the things too is that, as you guys know, the Dr. Josh Axe show, you've seen draxe.com, and you'll see that there is such good information about how to, eat better, what you should intake. What brought into the picture? Like when you and Dan talk, brother, you guys were talking about the mindset and the importance of that. How important was that when you were healing? Like, I know you were writing the book. Like, did it just come to you like when you were sick, you're like ahead, were you already thinking about doing work with mindset and leadership? Or was that point in your life when you were sick, like something came over, like God was speaking to you and just said, you've got to learn more about this and teach it?
Well, I was going to write this book before I had my condition. Now, the book changed a lot because I was writing it. In fact, I didn't write a single word of the book without being on my back pretty much. I mean, I was in bed, unable to move for almost that full year. And I wrote the entire book that way. And so I knew mindset medicine was so important based on taking care of tens of thousands of patients. I mean, I really think 50% of healing is our mind and belief and our emotions and spiritual life regarding health and healing. The other half is nutrition and sleep and exercise and those sort of things. But when I used to sit down with patients, I would have them fill out something like a 3-day diet diary. And on the first visit, I would have them start making changes. Now, the second visit's really where I went through more of a plan and recommendations and those sort of things. But the first visit, I'd take a look and I'd say, hey, I'm going to have you just start changing your breakfast between now and the next visit. Okay. So one simple change, just change breakfast. And I would tend to get 2 reactions because I would recommend something like a superfood smoothie for breakfast. And it's really simple. It's a cup of berries, cup of coconut milk, some protein powder, like plant protein and bone broth protein, something like that, or collagen. And that's what I have them do. And I'd get 1 of 2 reactions. One was, this sounds great, I can do that. And another was, oh, can I still have my cereal and my milk and this and this and this, and sort of negative, and like also living in more of a victim mentality. Those people that felt like they had something taken from them and they were trying to hold on to everything they had, and they were, or they had this victim mentality, those are the people that didn't heal. Those are the people. And also the people that even when they're constantly obsessing about their condition, it's all they think about 24/7. And it even becomes their identity. And so I realized that mindset was the most important part of somebody healing, because somebody decided, I'm going to heal, and it may take me 2 years, and I may have some ups and downs and trials, but I'm going to make changes. I'm going to make adjustments. I'm going to even enjoy cooking. I'm going to embrace this. Those people tend to heal much better. And so that's a really important lesson. And by the way, most people don't like to hear it. But if you really want to heal, that's what you have to embrace, is that sort of mindset and mentality. And I saw this with, again, a lot of people as they start to, their identity becomes their condition. And so in this book, I really get into how to overcome limiting beliefs. Here's another thing that happened constantly when I was in practice. I'd have patients that would see doctors. They would come in then and see me, and they would say, well, my doctor told me I have to be on this drug the rest of my life. Or the doctor told me my condition's irreversible. Type 2 diabetes was true all the time. They would say, oh, they told me I couldn't reverse it. Well, you and I both know in treating patients, we have type 2 diabetes reversed constantly. We have hypothyroidism reversed constantly. We have autoimmune disease reversed constantly. We help people, improve their fertility constantly. All of those issues that some doctors can't find a way to do, we do, because we just go to the root cause. And
But those are limiting beliefs. So in the book, I really get into here's how to break through limiting beliefs. Here's how to find your purpose. Here's how to get out of the victim mentality. Here's how to live out principles rather than propaganda and sort through all of the information. Here's how to build a rock solid identity. And I've had so many people say, well, this book has really been transformative for healing my mind. And so that was a big part of writing the book.
I think that when you were, when you were writing the book, when you're on your back, and I remember you going through things, the processes, I was just so impressed that everybody out there, I'm not kidding, the work ethic and showing that your mindset could change. And when you're writing your book, Doc, I remember that there would be times when I would be like, you get tired and you're working with people and you're doing your thing. And I'd be like, I really don't feel like that. And it just encouraged my heart when I'd see Josh. I mean, this guy's on his back. He can't even get up and he's writing the book. And like, he's always constantly learning. So that's why I love this book. And when you encourage people, it is a book full of encouragement. So everybody out there, you need to go grab this because Doc, you've made in my life, when you say, look at the long goals, long run, you've been so instrumental in my life. Like you encouraged me to do the podcast. Like he came in, he said, hey, I want you to do this podcast. He encouraged me to look and seek and do more like social media and pushed me like in a positive way. With that to say, when we start to see that just shifting mindset can lead us in a different direction, I found myself, whenever I'm around good people, I take the principles. Are there times like I'll pick a goal? And one thing I want everybody out there to hear is like those specific goals that you set in life. Are there any like major principles for those goals? Like these goals should do this, this, and this in your life. Are there certain criteria for those goals like that you think people should aim for? We know there's to be good people, but are there any type of rules or anything like that? Like I want to do this goal, but this goal may not be the best for me. I want to do this goal, but maybe that one's not the best. Is there any type of criteria that would help that person out there go, I know this is what I need to do?
Yeah. Well, one goes back to something I mentioned earlier is it good? Is it going to make the world a better place? Is it going to bless your spouse? Like, for instance, if I had a goal to go and build a certain type of $1 billion company, but I also realize it's going to take me so many hours, it's going to ruin my marriage. That's not a good goal, right? So number one, the goal has to be towards the good. Okay. Yeah. It has to be good for you, truly good for your soul. What good is gaining the world and losing your soul, right? So it has to be good for you, your family, the people around you. It should be good for everybody. So that's first, okay? This is why having a goal of just driving a Lamborghini, which is a fine goal, but it needs to make sure the goal is good before it's great. The second thing I would say is, you want to be real specific. Set a date and a date and a specific number for your goal, ideally making it measurable. So get real specific with your goal. So make sure it's good. Make sure it's very specific and time bound. And so there's an actual timeline related to that goal. And the next thing I would say, make it matter. Like, does the goal matter? Is it exciting? Does it make a difference? Is it something, like I have a goal, something I want to be able to do is, and I'm working towards right now is I'm wanting to build out a homestead and a farm, because Chelsea is really into homesteading now. And so like we're making our own sourdough bread. We've had like a mini garden at our house. We've done a lot of planter, herb gardens, but we want to have some cows and chickens and ducks and have bees and a food forest and do a regenerative permaculture on a farm. So right now that's something I'm excited about it. Right. I've got a timeline. I've got something in place. I'm praying about it. It's good. It's renewing the earth. It's good for my family life. Teaching Arwen how to go out and, milk the cow and take care of the chickens, giving her more stuff to do outside off devices. Right. So for me, that's a goal. And then of course I have goals in business, in terms of what I want to do through supplement company, through my podcast and show. I want to help set people free and people to heal their body, mind, and spirit on my podcast, the Dr. Josh Axe Show. So anyways, but I would just say, think about some of those things in terms of make it good, make it specific, have a time and place, and make it something that matters. And I think if you can set goals that way, and same with your health, when I was dealing with the spine infection, I told God, I said, Lord, let me be a walking miracle to where I could tell people of how great you are in terms of you're the great physician. And God, I mean, God healed me. I think God healed me directly. I think he also healed me through sending the right people in my life. I mean, there were so many sort of things that popped up, for instance, like the hyperbaric chamber article, and then somebody who had the right chamber for me to be able to get into. I mean, certain opportunities like that. And I also said, Lord, would you use this for good? And so I could help other people heal. And for instance, I learned so much, Chris, about how to deal with antibiotics. So there are so many people that have to get on antibiotics. I think I know exactly how to go through antibiotic usage with the least amount of damage and how to heal your gut afterwards. For instance, one of the things I found was most people, if you've taken antibiotics, they don't kill billions of bacteria. They kill trillions of bacteria and maybe 1,000 different diverse types of strains of probiotic bacteria in your gut. So so they're very harmful. And so for me, I didn't take, 20 billion CFU daily. I took about 1 trillion probiotic units daily. When I got off once I got off, I took 1 trillion daily. And the other thing I did I realized that I did a lot of L-glutamine. I did a lot of zinc. I did a lot of B vitamins and glutathione. I did, again, very high dose probiotic. And I would do a lot of fermented foods. And anyways, I did all those things, and I never really, my gut really fully recovered because of it. I also did something called FMT therapy. That'd be a whole nother conversation, but I did some of that right afterwards as well. And so I did all that, and it really, did tremendous things for my gut. But again, I think part of it is my prayers of God, would you use this for good? And God did that when my mom had cancer. I mean, I look back and it's crazy to say I'm grateful that my mom had cancer, but in a way I was, and she is, because she now lives life more to the full, because she has this awareness of she's learned how to make the most of each and every day. I've learned better how to help people navigate cancer because of what she went through. And I became a physician because of it in the first place. We're even having this conversation. So anyways, that's been obviously pretty significant.
Man, these are great tools, man. And I want to tell everybody that please look at Dr. Axe's book, and I think that the principles it's shown me that that's what I'm starting to do in life, is set those specific goals. And the world is, I'm grateful you made it through this, brother, and I'm so thankful. And the world needs your voice, and God knew that, and you're affecting millions of lives. I've been reading the reviews on Amazon about your book, and people, it's like I was going this way, and I'm shifted this way now, and it's like review after review after review. So having you as one of my closest friends is an honor, and I say that, and I'm just so glad you come back to Nashville soon, brother. I can't wait till we go and grab some food, and we get to hang out more and more. So now what's next on the horizon? I know you're going to be homesteading, because we got to talk about this. If we do some homesteading, that'll be great. You could have a place near Andrew and them too. They should have something out there with you guys. And I'll stop by and I'll help treat some of the animals with herbs or something like that.
We'll put you to work. Yeah. We're going to put you to work when you come out there. I mean, it's like, hey, Motley, get over here and help, let's, chop some wood. Let's, I need you to feed the chickens, milk the cows, and then, maybe go in and make some good sourdough bread and some yogurt. So
it's going to be great.
Yeah, okay, we're going to put you to work.
We're going to do it. I'll be put to work, guys. So I want you guys to all watch and listen to the Dr. Josh Axe show. And it's phenomenal. Such great information. So any new things up on the horizon, Doc? Are you going to be like, or anything specific? Are you just running through some things as in specific goals, or what's next on the horizon?
Yeah, well, one thing I'm up to, which I'm excited about, is I'm doing a virtual clinic myself. I have a group of practitioners that I work with, and people go check that out at axewellness.com. But yeah, I'm taking care of some patients myself, as you have your amazing virtual clinic as well. So I'm spending some time doing that in the future and doing some health challenges. We just did a 3-day sugar detox challenge. I also have something coming up called a night to heal, where I'm going through like about a 2-hour training on here's how to heal
reverse medical conditions, reverse autoimmune disease, reverse almost every condition you can think of. So that's called A Night to Heal. I'm excited about that as well. So people can check that out on social if they follow at Dr. Josh Axe. But yeah, I think the homesteading is something we're excited about. Chelsea and I are friends with Carrie Underwood and her husband, Mike Fisher, and they're doing this a lot. Like, we'd love to be able to maybe produce 80% of the food we eat regularly just on our own little farm there. That we're going to do in Nashville. So very excited about that. And I'm incredibly excited about my own podcast. And if anybody wants to listen, that's called the Dr. Josh Axe Show. And I'm covering topics on things like hypothyroid, Chinese medicine, how to do blood work, also personal growth topics, a lot of those sort of topics. And so you could just check that out at Dr. Josh Axe. But I'm excited about that. Great interviews. I know you're going to come up. We're going to do an in-person interview here in August, and so excited to interview you in person. So that'll be fun. But I'm just excited to have my health. I'm excited about for the future for this homestead, and also continuing to just educate people. It's what I love. And of course, one of the things I'm most excited about is moving back to Nashville here next month and getting our regular dinners going again. Yes. And I know we got that great Korean restaurant we're going to be doing there in August too. So I can't wait for that.
Oh, I can't wait. And so everybody, please check out Dr. Axe's website. And I'm excited too, brother. It's going to happen. And for more information, you need to listen to the Dr. Josh Axe show. It's literally so much wealth of knowledge, and all aspects of the body are basically addressed, and there's nothing that's left unturned. So we really appreciate you, Doc, coming on, and everybody out there loves you. I love you. You're my buddy. And we're just going to have a great time when the homestead comes up. And so everybody out there, I hope you guys had a great time here at the Ancient Health Podcast. Until next time, if you like what you've heard here, just put us a comment in the comment section, like and subscribe. And until the next time, God bless. Thank you, Doc.